fabulous Sharon Collin. Welcome to her Empire Builder show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tina. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I mean, I did talk about this in our intro as well, but we've known each other for many, many years. And you were like one of our very first Kajabi builds in the whole online course creation world when we got into that. So we have been in it nearly the same amount of time, which is really cool.
Wow. Oh my
I know.
goodness. Yes, it has been such a great journey though. I'm so
Yeah.
happy that, it's
Yeah.
rolled out this
And so
way.
it was very different to anything that you had done previously. And your journey has been an inspiring one. Like you are an example that I use quite often for growing at a pace that was like really steady, but really good in doing that. And you've done a lot of it with, you've done a lot. I don't think anyone's ever self-made or, doing it yourself. Like you've obviously got different help on different things, but you really have done it yourself, like in terms of you haven't had all that much team support, family support, all of that sort of thing around you. This has been a mission that's been driven by you. What initially motivated you to go into this online course world, and how was your family's struggles impacted what it actually became?
Such a great question.
It was a big question.
It was a stacked question, what we'd call in coaching. But I'll tell you a little bit about our family journey and then
Yeah.
how it came to be an online course, because you feature in this one, and I'm sure our listeners would like to hear that story because it's pretty cool. So basically, my husband, who you know, grew up with ADHD, and he had a terrible time with it. It was back in the day where he was like the stereotypical naughty boy, and he was like excluded from the
He's still the
classroom.
stereotypical naughty boy. Oh, I should probably caveat that if people are listening to the podcast. So Sharon's husband, Anthony, has been my husband's best friend since they were about 12. So I know him quite well, so I can say things like that.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. He is like a cyclone, but a lovable, exciting cyclone. And so he grew up with ADHD. He was like really stereotyped, told he was going to amount to nothing, sent out of the classroom, and pretty much fought his way through school. And I was looking at my beautiful little boy when I had my first son, Xavier, and he is very similar to my husband. And I'm looking at him and then looking at my husband's trauma and thinking, oh, I do not want that to be Xavier's story.
Yeah.
And so I set about learning everything that I could about ADHD. This is even before we got a formal diagnosis. I knew it. It wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
And so I was learning everything I could, and I was running all these weird experiments on my family. And so during this time, as I'm learning, I also had two other boys. They all have ADHD. We've got some Tourette's, ODD in there, that's oppositional defiance disorder, sensory processing disorder, specific learning disorders, all of the letters, right? And I'm trialing all these things. I'm looking at parenting strategies. I'm looking at how we should set up the home. I'm looking at, creating scaffolding for my family to make it sustainable. We were doing every single therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, like neurofeedback therapy. We spent $30,000 just on Xavier.
Wow.
Yeah, so huge expense, no NDIS funding, no support.
Yeah.
And all of it was back then was about trying to make it easier for Xavier to avoid the experience that Anthony had. And so one day, I have like spreadsheets and everything going on in my house, all these routine charts and scaffolding and everything.
They're
and
beautiful.
You come over, oh yeah, like my love language is templates, right? They're similar to yours. And you come over for dinner one day and you're like, what is this? What is this all about? What is happening here? You need to share this.
Yeah.
And so that's how it sort of started.
And they were beautiful, like all color coded, so organized. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. We could sell this.
Your entrepreneurial brain just clicked into gear where I was just doing it for survival.
Yeah.
Right? So for us, our home life sucked. It sucked. I know, like a lot of mums, it's not cool to say that, but it sucked. And sometimes it still does suck a little bit. But
it is a lot of work. Like I think that, and I think that that's something that you could talk about too, is when you've got neurodivergent kids, that it is a lot of work. Like I will look at my kids who are very neurotypical and go like, my day-to-day is so much easier. And I know that like when you say that's not the thing that parents say, most people won't say that because one, they don't want to make people feel bad. And two, it's not like you never comment on other people's, but I look at it and I go, my day-to-day is way easier than someone who is dealing with how to have a functional family when you've got all of those neurospicy things going on.
Yeah, well, it's the equivalent. Raising one typical child raising one neurodivergent child is the equivalent of raising three neurotypical
What, so you
children.
have like 9 kids?
I have 9 kids,
Yeah.
and I'm going to include my husband in there. So I've got a lot of kids and a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
And, what happened is, really researching how we could survive as a family. It wasn't important to me what other people were doing. It's just I wanted to be able to enjoy it. I
Yeah.
didn't want it to suck so bad. And so, really researching and creating experiments. Like I do weird things. Like one day my kids are going to write a book about me called Weird Stuff Mum Made Us Do. And so I'd have them, I'd create like a minimalist room and it'd all be like minimalist. And then I'd have them walk in and I'd be documenting it because I'm a like systems and procedure person. And then I'd have them come into a cluttered room and I'd document it like a weirdo in the corner. And, what I was learning and what I was trialing back then is just seeing if there was any repeatable patterns that would make our home life easier. Anything that I'm up for, anything that saves me time and saves a bit of capacity, like saves my capacity,
100%.
because
Yeah.
I know it's hard work. And so, there's so many things that make the ADHD brain amazing and beautiful and like make my kids super special, but I'm not going to be able to enjoy any of it if I'm too burnt out.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is self-preservation.
Yeah. And so how did like you got started, and I know your offers have changed quite a bit since you first started and what that intention was at the start. What did you launch with and how has it morphed over the 5 years?
Yeah, and it's really been like a slow and steady
Yeah, it
wins the
has.
race one. Like it hasn't been, I
That's
didn't
what I
come out.
mean by I use you as an example a lot because you've managed to like do it at a pace that is like you've been paid well, you've been growing at a really good rate, but you've also like managed to change when needed as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the start, I launched with a program. And it was really like a mother-to-mother program of the things that I've learned from my weird experiments about things that I was confident would help other families. And so I didn't rely on me being the expert in that one. I definitely relied on my systems, but I interviewed other experts, and like I interviewed Australia's best pediatrician, and I interviewed Australia's best integrative pediatrician and best OT and all that sort of stuff. And I shared my systems.
Yeah.
And then I thought, no, I want to do more. I want to train more. I want to be better at this. And so that ran for a couple of years. And I actually trained and became a credentialed ADHD coach, consultant, and parenting expert. And then I came in with all my knowledge, and then I could be the expert as well. And really, that was a pivotal point because I was able to back myself and actually go, hold on a second. I don't think these parenting strategies that are designed for neurotypical kids are going to work for neurodivergent kids. And sometimes those strategies cause trauma. And so I was able to come in and really back myself. So we have the program first, and that has been updated, but still runs evergreen. So when people get their children get a diagnosis, it's really aimed at parents of primary school age children, and setting up the home and really educating them about what ADHD is and how to advocate at school. And then I came in with the membership, and the membership it tackles all age groups. So even because I recognized that ADHD is genetic. And so if the kids have ADHD, one of the parents does too. So we've got to look at all topics, not just setting up the home for primary school age kids. So the membership covers all age groups, and it covers a wider range of topics. So we're looking at things like rejection sensitivity dysphoria, oppositional behaviors, lots of things like that are going to be relevant for all age groups. And it's less intensive because sometimes the 6-week program, it depends on the level of burnout. It can be a lot for people, even though you get a year to go through it. The membership, we just tackle one theme a month.
Yeah, beautiful.
And so that kind of takes the pressure off a little bit, which is a beautiful ADHD strategy.
Yeah. And how long's the membership been going for now?
It's 2 years now. So
Yeah,
I think we've got
beautiful.
about 200 members in there.
Well done.
And it's a beautiful community. Like that's one of the things, like that's one of the reasons that Her Empire Builder is so beautiful, is that community component. I know everyone always gets on here and talks about how lovely the community is, but it really is.
Yeah.
But we also have that. We have this gorgeous, kind space where parents aren't judging each other. They're just looking out for each other and caring for each other. And, you know, you can ask those questions and get support, which I think is really important.
Yeah. And so getting into the course creation world, you mentioned that you got qualified, and I did see a significant jump from you with that in terms of you stepping into your confidence a lot. Do you feel like you wanted more credibility to do it? Like the experience wasn't enough, that you wanted that formal piece of paper? I'm always intrigued because one of the biggest things that I find when people go from, you know, traditional business or whatever pathway they've come into online, you've got to show your face a lot, you've got to talk a lot. Like that showing up is hard. Did that help you with the showing up? Because it seemed like the business took off a lot when you did that.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that what I was teaching from in the early days was my family's experience. That's what
Yeah.
and my study. But if I know anything about ADHD, is that no two people present the same. And we have a saying in ADHD coaching that ADHD doesn't come to the party alone, it brings friends, right? So usually it comes with, you know, dyslexia or Tourette's or even being gifted, or, you know, like it comes with other things. So me only being able to teach from my family's experience is a limitation.
Yeah.
Because not everyone has the same experience. And so really going back and doing that formal qualification and, you know, sitting the exams and learning as much as I could about you know, the most latest research is it allowed me to back myself and step into that and really go like, I know what I'm talking about. I
Yeah.
know my strategies work. You know, like I'm confident in my approach, which has really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to go to women with ADHD
Mhm.
because so I was diagnosed when I was 22, had obviously, you know, had it all through, but as you would know, it presents really differently in women than it does in men. And most girls weren't diagnosed when they were in primary school. What I have found now, though, is it's become a lot more, like, I won't use the word it's become cool, but it's become a lot more accepted and a lot more talked about. And more people are going to see whether they actually have it and get a formal diagnosis or not, which it was never anything, you know, we were just thought of as a little bit quirky before.
Mm.
And one thing that has really like blown my mind over the last couple of years is I think there is about 60 to 70% of female entrepreneurs that have diagnosed ADHD. What do you think are the benefits of that? Because a lot of women listening to this probably have it. What are the benefits and what are the challenges and the struggles of having ADHD and growing and running a business at the same time?
I mean, I think we've done women huge disservice, right? Because the kids that present with, and it's not all just boys that present with hyperactivity, we know that girls can do that too, but they get diagnosed early, right? Like
Yeah.
my kids with the hyperactivity, they get diagnosed early. You can't
Yeah,
miss
yeah,
it.
yeah.
They're on the
Yeah.
roof,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they really
Um,
are. Yeah. I've seen your kids in
yeah,
all sorts of
yeah.
precarious places going, that's not safe. That's not safe.
My poor dog just comes into me all the time. He's like, look at me, look at what your puppies are doing, sort that out. They're like, so women, they in the past got misdiagnosed. It's not that they didn't have ADHD or that we like all of a sudden are seeing increased rate. They often got misdiagnosed as anxiety
Mhm.
because that hyperactivity can present, their body is calm, but it's hyperactivity in your brain,
Yes.
which looks a lot like anxiety, or they got misdiagnosed with bipolar.
Mm.
So it can present in a different way. Now, how that plays out in terms of being an entrepreneur, we know that ADHD, people with ADHD have incredible problem-solving brains, right? So if we look at ADHD as a genetic, I'm just going to go out on them.
Yeah,
How
go for it,
out there do
Sharon.
you want me to go? I'm
Yeah,
going
geek
for it.
out. Go for it.
So if we were going to look at it as an evolutionary trait, which is what research is, you know, leaning towards at the moment, and we were in tribes, and you had the tribe of people, you had the followers at the back, and you put the risk takers at the front. And the risk takers are the people with ADHD in that gene. And what their job is to take risks, look, you know, like push forward, and their nervous system is heightened because they're scanning for safety all the time. So people with ADHD usually have very good periphery vision. They spot things. Like my kids are like, how about that guy? And I'm like, what guy?
Mm.
I didn't see it. They usually see things. They've got good pattern recognition. They're not afraid to take risks and back themselves. And so some of those traits that come through as an evolutionary advantage lend themselves to actually being a very good entrepreneur. Because what do we value in entrepreneur? Like stepping out on a limb, like giving, backing yourself and taking a risk, being able to recognize patterns or perhaps where things are falling over, being able to assess for safety, like, it's risk assessment, essentially putting yourself forward. So there's a lot of things that outside of the box thinking, being able to think, okay, if you've got a problem solving brain or a brain that's wired for problem solving,
Yeah.
being able to go, this is a problem that I need to solve for people. I'm going to create something, a product around that. And that's why I think we see it so beautifully in the entrepreneurial community in women.
Yeah, I do often think it would be difficult to not have ADHD and run a business, because often I never realized until I got older, probably into my mid-30s, when I started coaching people privately, and the way that I thought, and I would go, okay, we could do this, 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 and this, and then you put everything together and you'd see everything there and you go like, and then people didn't have that ability. And I go, what do you mean? Like, what do you think? Oh, you just do one thing at a time and at a normal pace, and just, you do your things for the day and then you stop working and you just go and take a rest because you're tired. Interesting. And so I think it's, once harnessed, and I have had to really, there's a lot of disciplines that I employed into my life in my early 20s to do that are now second nature. But once it's harnessed, like, I think it's a superpower. Yeah.
I mean, I think I kind of view it like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So he gets at the start, he gets the web. I know everyone's probably heard me say this analogy before, but he gets the ability to web, and he's a bit chaotic with it. He webs himself, and he goes away and he practices it and develops skills around it, and then he uses it to his advantage. ADHD can web you any day of the week. It can web you. If you don't have the right skills around it and the right strategies that work for you, it'll web you. But what you can do is develop skills to work with your brain. Like an ADHD coach, like what I'm trained in is literally about creating systems to work with executive function challenges that we know are common challenges with ADHD. So things like task prioritization, short-term memory recall, stress resilience, frustration tolerance, emotional regulation. Those are the things that we see commonly. So if you have good structure around those things, or things that good awareness that that those are the things that you struggle with, you can use it to your advantage. I mean, like hyper focus, when when harnessed, is amazing. Like some people would dream of that. You probably get more work done in an hour than I'll ever get done in a week,
Yeah. I'll sometimes talk to Matt, my husband, about it, and he's like, that's incredible that you can do that. But it's a I'll only get up when I'm busting to go to the toilet and I can't possibly hold it any longer, which is not healthy to do. But it's like you lose all track of time and space, and it's just, it's wonderful. And I've heard you talk about like the concept that's coming in of the high achiever ADHD being more recognized. How, like, is that a new thing that's come in, and how's it influenced what you're doing in life and how you're parenting the kids and operating inside your business?
Well, the high achiever, I don't think it's new. Maybe we just were a little bit terrible at recognizing it before.
Yeah.
But what we kind of see is one of the things that, I'll do a little bit of a diversion here in terms of the high achiever, is that we're now seeing like this burnout kind of component coming through.
Yeah.
So we have these waves, and most people with ADHD will recognize what I'm talking about here. So we go okay for a little while, we burn out, we crash. We go okay for a little while, we burn out, we crash. And so we have these burnout cycles. And the trap is that often we don't recognize the burnout until the waves crashed, right? So where we should I see you nodding, where we throw the strategies in to protect ourselves from burnout should be on the waves as it's building, right? That's where we have our strategies. It's too late to do anything when the wave is crashed. So when we're out, when we're dysregulated, when we're in red zone, our only strategy is move to safety. Right? So we throw our strategies as the wave's building and we're on the up. But the challenge is with the high achiever ADHD, and we see this for women all the time, is this more and more concept. So this is where you hit your goal, also you hit your target, and you're straight onto the next thing.
Mhm.
We don't stop, we don't mark it, we don't celebrate it. And so because of the brain's negativity bias, when we look back, we don't actually see any of the cool stuff we've done. We're onto the next super, super fast. And the more and more, like that feeling of more and more, like I'm always going for the next thing, always chasing the next rabbit, is that like big driver behind that fast wave. Like most people are on the wave, right? They're like, whether neurotypical, neurodivergent, whatever, they're on the wave. It's crashing, right? We're all doing it. But the rate at which it happens with ADHD, the waves are quicker.
Yeah.
So we've got to really guard ourselves from that wave.
Yeah, I have noticed, like, in the, not to keep bringing my own self into it, but I've noticed in the last few years as I've gotten older that my nervous system can no longer keep up with the rate that my brain will go, and it does lead to that burnout. I used to be able to do it. I'd sleep 9-10 hours a night and be totally fine. Now, though, I get really tired. If I let myself go onto like that wave, I'll get really tired at the end of the day and go, okay, I can't sustain that day after day after day anymore. Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer getting old.
And it is. And I mean, something that you've said that I've heard you say before is that you're a sprinter.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not a marathon runner, you're a sprinter. And I would say that's true of most people with ADHD. They are designed to do short bursts of intensive things. They're not the stable marathon runner. They're not the person at the back who's like doing, you know, like the stable job.
Slow and steady does not win our race. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So switching to your entrepreneurial journey, like everyone's has its own ups and downs and learnings. Can you share a time of when you feel like you have like stuffed up in a way and the lessons that you learned from that experience that can help other course creators?
Oh my gosh, I'm brilliant at stuffing up. I think I fail forward very well.
Yeah. That's
I
a
think,
skill.
Yeah. And I don't think that I sweat too much these days about everything having to be perfect because I just don't think it's achievable. Like done is better than perfect in the online space for sure.
Yeah.
Because if we worry about it being perfect, we just don't get anything done. I guess the biggest stuff up for me, and this is a very personal example, but you know, I have no filter, was really about going in too much at the cost of my own health and my own family a little bit. So, you know, it's all very good to be a family's trained coach, to be supporting other families and everything, but not at the expense of mine.
Yeah.
So that will always be my biggest challenge. Like a lot of my listeners know, I have psoriatic arthritis, which is it's an autoimmune condition that eats healthy tissue, right? It is no fun. And it's actually a real bugger to manage. But it has had plus sides. Like it's made me not scared of anything. Like I don't get scared about embarrassing myself. I don't get scared about, the only thing I'm scared about is nerve pain. That's awful. I'm scared about that. But what I think this will always be the challenge, and always where I have to fall down and pick myself back up, is knowing that I've got something that works, that I can help a lot of people, but I'm not going to be able to do any of it if I don't look after myself first. And over different periods of my life, and, you know, also raising, you know, we know I'm raising 9 kids now, you know, not handling that very well, not having the right boundaries in place, saying yes when I should have said no, like, you know, all of these common ones that I'm sure that entrepreneurial women, you know, stuff up on all the time. But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at saying no, and I think the more confident that you get with what you do, the less these things, less times you sweat stuff.
Definitely. And I think when you start as well, there's a period where you kind of have to say yes to everything because you don't know what opportunities are going to stick and what isn't. And you get in that, you know, you're hungry for growth. So you just say yes to everything. And then all your dreams come true and your business grows and you're like, whoa. Like, what have I done? And you're on this freight train that you need to wind back and then get a new filter in place to say yes and no to different things that you didn't before. So it's all, I think it happens to everyone going through. Yeah. Okay. So on the flip side, what are some of the things that you believe that you do exceptionally well in your business that have helped get you to this stage that others could learn from?
One thing that I think that we do well is we run free training twice a year. we do challenges or like a free sort of masterclass series. That always goes well. I think the last one, I think we had like 5,000 signups to that. Like, you know, like crazy numbers. Those ones we always do seem to do very well. People want to invest in, or they like that, you know, I'm qualified, but also live it. And I think that the more I can get in front of people and share their story, share my story, and you know, really let them know that we're there to support them and that I actually care. Like, I actually give a crap about their family's outcome. It's not a business to me. It's never actually been a business. You know, people say you should separate yourself personally. Like, I am always way over invested in everyone's outcomes and ride this roller coaster with all my clients. But the free training, like we called it a festival because I recognize that, you know, fun is important, right? And if we call things a masterclass or a webinar,
Yeah.
we're gonna make it a festival, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm like, that sounds great. I want to do a festival. I want that. That sounds really fun.
Festival sounds like there's some sort of punch and like garland and things, and that's what was on my website. But so we create that free training that goes really well. But I think the one thing that that really helps my business that I am quite good at is discovery calls, because once I get people on the phone, and I know you're good with this as well, and I can hear a little bit about what's going on for them, if I already know that I'm not the right person to support them, I will refer them to the person who is. But being able to, for a person for 15 minutes for them to tell me what is going on for their family and really feel heard and acknowledged with that, and then, you know, me make some recommendations, whether it be for one of my services or someone else's. That is important. That's an important thing that I do for my community, because I want to be able to hear their story and for them to, you know, to have some clear practical strategies. This is what they're all crying out for. They're all going like, what the hell do we do? Like, we're so burnt out. So discovery calls, mastering that, I think has been a clear winner, because I know that when I get people on a discovery call, that the outcome is great.
Yeah.
The free training. And also I have a free support group that is on Facebook. It's like the ADHD and Families group. And people can go in there. Now, I don't answer inquiries in there very often because I keep my answers for the membership group.
Yeah.
But that group has been something that we have done very well. It's built. I think it's got 14,000 members in there. So it's a big group where I can put all my free resources, like my podcasts and all of that stuff. And that is something that we have done well. We've nurtured that beautiful community. I kick anyone out who's not kind. You know, I really make sure that is a place, because that's what I wanted at the start. I just wanted a community of people who got it. And so they're the three things that I think we do quite well. Like outside of the office, of course.
Yeah. So with discovery calls, because this is something I talk to people a lot about as well, and I think they're so valuable. But how do you maintain that, and what boundaries do you put on that? One, so they don't become free coaching calls, and second, so that you have, you know, you don't get burnt out doing too many calls as well.
So I have a form on Kajabi that I fill out while I'm doing the discovery call, and it has a prompt question. Before we even go into it, I let people know what the structure of this call is.
Yeah, nice.
Right? So it's not a coaching session. It is tell me a little bit about what's going on for you. I'll see if I can help. Then we go into like, can I now tell you a little bit about what I'm trained in, what I can offer? And we have this like kind of set structure that we go through, which allows that I also time myself, because I love listening to people's stories, and I could totally get caught up in like everyone's. I'd be like,
and an hour's gone by.
2.5 hours. Sharon's still on the phone, you know. So I have to time myself. I have these little, you know, for people with ADHD, these are on Amazon, these little timers everywhere. I time myself, making sure that I'm sticking into that 15-minute thing. I know that it takes me about, you know, 5 to 8 minutes to get through my services, so I can match it up. So we're getting to that story part, then I'm coming in with talking a little bit about what we're going to do. And really the objective is to let people know what services we have, but also for them to feel acknowledged, because people are crying out for support, and I want to make sure that they know that there is support out there for them.
Love that. Love that. Good tips, Sharon. Good tips. So you started with Idea to Launch in
Mhm.
2018 was when we put that out and you did that one, and now part of Her Empire Builder. What what do you love about being part of Her Empire Builder?
I think probably this is an ADHD skill set, right, for you. I
Ah,
like that you can take lots of information and you have a way of just giving me the steps, right?
and that's an
Because
ADD thing.
well, you're really good at absorbing like whole big concepts and like
Yes.
narrowing in because you're interested in it. If you weren't interested in it, I don't think it would be it. Like,
Yeah.
because we know that the ADHD brain is an interest and novelty based brain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Trying to
whereas
get yourself to do something you don't want to do is very difficult.
a
Yes.
neurotypical brain is based on importance, so you can sequence that way because, yeah. But anyway, you have this ability because you're interested, and it's probably new, each thing that you're doing, of looking at the bigger picture and then coming up with action steps. Now, that works well for my brain because I'm not a detailed person. I'm like, okay, you just tell me the bits to do and I'll do it because my priority is helping families
Yeah.
and allowing, like, doing my genius bit. And so what you shortcutting it for me has been a huge benefit because
Mm,
I don't have time to research all the different platforms. I don't
mm,
want to. That's not my zone of genius, right?
mm.
I don't know. I don't like today you presented on key metrics. Like I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I would never have thought about that. But now I will action it because you've told me the steps, right? So I just need someone to break it down and make it simple for me because I want to do what I'm good at, which is the
Yeah.
family stuff.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Thanks, Shaz. That's beautiful. Okay, as you continue to grow, what does success look like for you? What are you really excited about that you have coming up, and where are you headed?
For success for me is always, I'm going to say, like probably what everyone says, is like, is actually having work-life balance. I think I've got to maintain that. That's
Not
very
everyone
important to
says that. I
me.
ask
Oh,
everyone
really?
this question, and everyone's always different. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, for me, it's never been a like, yes, my business is profitable. I love what I do. It's not, it's for me, that's not my main driver. My
Mm,
driver is helping families like mine. And
yeah.
so I've got to make sure that I protect mine as well.
Mm.
And so I think having that work-life balance is always my gauge for success. So when that falls off or gets off kilter, I always feel like I'm failing. So
And
I
what
want
does
to make
work-life
sure
balance look like to you?
being able to go for a walk around the block every day because
Yep.
that's important to me. Not feeling like I am scheduled to my eyeballs
Yes.
because I get really like, oh, my calendar.
Yes.
Not working on the weekends
Yep.
and having time for connection individually with all my children.
Yes.
That is success for me. Paying the mortgage is great too.
Yeah.
But those are the things that are important to me. And what it looks like in the future is obviously maintaining that. I want the membership to grow. I know that it's good. I know that it helps a lot of people. And the more people that we get in there, the more families I can support and the
Mm.
more awareness I can raise for neuroaffirming approaches and parenting strategies that actually work for ADHD. So like, of course, I want to grow. And I will continue going on at exactly the same rate that I am because it is like just building on building. You don't have to do it all at once. Like
Yeah.
how long? I announced my podcast 6 times to my audience before I released.
Oh, Sharon.
I was
Yeah.
like, hey guys, really exciting news. Doing a podcast, so excited. And everyone, I'm sure by the 6th time, they're like, this
Yeah,
lady,
we
stop
get it.
it.
Where is the podcast? Yeah. But this is why I use you as an example as well, is because it's the accumulation over time. A lot of
Mm,
people, I'll get people join Her Empire Builder in each round, and some people will go for 6 weeks and go, well, I haven't got my podcast yet, and my speaker's reel, and my website made, and my course launched. So it's taking too long. I'm like, what? Like we're sold way too much online of this like overnight success stuff, and that but good quality, sustainable, profitable businesses happen over time. And that doesn't matter whether you're online or offline or how that works. And I think you can build a really good business in 6 to 12 months. But it's when you get to your level of like years and years in that you know the tap to turn on and off when you need more time or when you need more money in the business or you want to hire an extra person. Like you're so aware of the different levers that you have and how to pull those. And I think there's, it's been really valuable to you to go at the pace that you've gone.
yeah, I think we're all in a hurry to get to a spot, and that's awesome. but we just got to be careful that the spot that we get to, we actually want to be in,
Right.
right? Like, it's no good pushing for the finish line if you don't like your life when you get there.
Yes.
So I think what I've always like really tried to do is create a business that works for my family and works for my health and works for my clients as well. Like that is the goal, and that is what success looks like for me.
Thank you so much, Sharon. You're wonderful.
Thank you so much.